Peace. So, we're gonna have a very long talk. I didn't rehearse this or bullet pointed or anything. So, if I gotta do a follow up, I'll do a follow up. I feel like this year, aside from talking about the physical or showing you the physical self care, whether that's your hygiene or working out, um, being in places that inspire you. I also wanted to delve into mental self care. Um, if my eyes are watering, never mind me. It's either the winter or something's wrong with my eye. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to delve more into the mental side of things, and would that involve sharing and getting back into a space of vulnerability, which has been a sensitive topic for me. Um, a lot has come up for me this past weekend. Um, but the topic of today's relationships, I feel like this can apply to romantic and platonic relationships, such as friendships. I feel like familial relationships is a whole video in and of itself, but it all ties in, so I feel like it'll go around. This is from the perspective of myself. Um, that is where it shall lie. And if you can take something from it, then take it. If you can't, then I don't know. Um, in discussing some stuff, I realized that I have a problem with boundaries. And not respecting boundaries, but more so respecting my own boundaries, developing boundaries, um, dealing with the repercussions of those boundaries either being violated or questioned, um, and the guilt behind having boundaries. Um, on the other side, I think that a large part of me hasn't had enough respect for myself, in that I seem to constantly test my pain tolerance. If you've been following me for a while, you already know some history. Um, but, I've heard a lot through my life as far as volatile words and name calling and things like that. And I feel like a lot of toxic behaviors that I might recognize as toxic, I don't have the same reaction to them as someone who would have been raised in a way where that was abnormal. Like, I feel like I pacify it, or I let it be rather than having like a big reaction to it, because it doesn't feel abnormal to me. Um, I also feel like I have forgiven people in my life to the point where I've insulted myself. Um, like, I've let people re-enter, um, in hopes it would be different, or thinking they think the same way I do, you know. Um, In full transparency, I had an encounter with a former friend this past weekend. Whether or not she's watching is not my business. I honestly did everything I could. Basically, she wanted to, I guess, start things back up, friendship, and I didn't want to do that without addressing why things ended to begin with. Because things ended with her dismissing me, and I wasn't comfortable, carrying on like nothing happened. And just having to deal with again, feeling unheard because rather than actually have a dialogue about it, she disappeared once again. I'm trying my best to keep it together. As y'all know how I feel about ghosting and fickleness and wavering like emotions and things like that. So it bothers me. I'm not even gonna put it in past tense. It bothers me. It bothers me because there's certain people in my life who I've had in my life who I felt like I'd never have to question, I'd never have to doubt. And that's not to say I didn't allow their humanness, I didn't expect them to be perfect. It's more of, it's not like I expected them to be perfect, but it's more of a loyalty and respect kind of thing. I don't know, like, you ever have a friend that you feel really gets you, y'all vibe, there's an unspoken word about a lot of things, and you just feel like it's the start of something that could be like really beautiful, like that could be your sister. And a lot of me usually talks myself out of those kind of feelings for people. But around the time where we start this friendship, you try not to let past things become new things. So I don't know, the social anxiety part of me doesn't recover well from broken links. So before I continue what I'm going to say, as far as that friend goes, I do very much love her. So that's why it's bothering me. to think somebody would get you, but they don't, or the type of trust or bond you think is there, I mean, obviously isn't if they don't want to communicate, or just for thinking they know you enough to know, like, you questioning something or you saying a certain thing could never be meant in a derogatory way or in a sly kind of way. Like, it comes from a pure place of curiosity or um, just a matter of fact kind of way. It's not the first time I've had this issue. um, and I'm not laughing at the situation, I'm laughing at myself. That my seriousness sometimes leads people to think like I'm passive, or also my quietness seems to think have people think they could play with me. But in this instance, my seriousness and matter of fact way of speaking is usually my way to simplify what I'm saying in hopes that there'll be no like misconstrued words. But I guess it's so dry that it's taken with an attitude, or it's taken with a, well, she doesn't really care what's going on kind of thing. I don't know. But back to what I was about to say about bonds. In my last romantic relationship, um, parts of me is still trying to heal from that. I won't even hold you. Simply because it takes a lot for me to have faith in someone. Um, Me telling people I love them, me spending my time, me inviting you into my life, my house, you knowing who I know. That means something to me, and I know for some people it don't mean nothing to them. They might be like super social creatures where, like, you know, you bringing people around your people is more of a social thing than it being of any like cultural significance, or it being a heart matter, whatever. For me, it's a heart matter. And for me, I'm also not bringing anyone around my family or anybody knowing where I live who I don't feel solid about. Um, I mean, that could go back to childhood where I didn't grow up with people coming over to my house. um, I didn't grow up with going over to people's house either. That could be a Caribbean thing. That could be a helicopter parent thing. I don't know. Um, but as an adult, when it comes to dating these dudes, um, I don't let just anybody in my house. I really don't. um, I don't let just anybody in my head either. And the dangerous part of letting people in your head, especially if you're a sensitive being, is they can mess it up. um, The healing part doesn't come in still wanting him, because I honestly don't want to be with anybody who um, at my lowest health wise disappears on me. That's not something I could forgive, especially after acting like it didn't happen, or acting like nothing's wrong with it. It stings even more with like the constant need for me to promise him forever. Um, yeah, also realizing things after the fact. Mainly is a lot of people will have you around not because they love you, or not because they rock with you, but because they think you will provide certain benefits to them. So their emotions are based on that. When the benefits haven't come to fruition, or they cease to be there, that's when things change up. And there's a lot of people who make plans and say words, and it's really all just fluff. I think that's why a lot of times people have an issue with me not talking, or filling up the ear with small conversation. And sometimes there's a time and place for everything. So sometimes, yeah, you want to talk about something lighthearted. I send memes to my cousin all the time, or ever so often I might talk to Tiffany, well, one of the Tiffany's I know from on here, about something silly. Or there's another Tiffany who I might talk to about fashion things, because she dresses to a T. So there's a time and place. But there's some people, I forgot what it's called psychologically, but they'll basically hype you up with future plans. Then when you sit back, you realize there was never any steps made to actually make these things like happen. They were just things said in hopes like you get in the headspace where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and you know. And I just found myself doing. And I'll take ownership for losing parts of myself, or not walking away sooner. From not just him, but a lot of people. I feel like because I don't socialize that much, or because of my history with just sexual abuse and things like that, I never know like what's next or how to deal with what's next. And what I mean by that is like when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I would be around dudes that really didn't deserve the time of day. And I ain't talking about tons of people, but just the situations in of themselves, when I think about it, makes me cringe. just staying around and being at people's house and not knowing like how to leave, so just allowing certain things to happen. Um, or with this last situation, just getting my head so wrapped up in like I'm trying to like settle down, I'm trying to like put things in stone in my life, or really like believing in the guilt of not doing enough, not being enough, and sticking around thinking what else is out there. Um, and having to like deal with or heal that part of you that may not get to have certain things that you thought you'd have, or even when you thought you'd have them, and being able to look at the whole picture and be like, okay, well, if you guys stayed in this situation and if it actually ever had led to marriage, would it have been the type of marriage that nourishes your soul? And honestly, probably not. Um, because I'm way deeper and way richer. I'm talking soul wise. And just needing something more. And needing more maturity out of the situation. Um, as far as friendships and stuff, a lot of it I don't know what I could have done differently. Um, yeah, I still haven't uncovered that really. Um, I don't know if I'm saying some things too harshly or just not picking the right people. I mean, we already know I'm awkward. So that part I already know. um, I mean, maybe the other part is because I've never wanted to, like, parlay and bullshit. So I've never been looking for that kind of crowd. But I mean, it is what it is, really. Um, this time around in this lifetime, I'm just trying to, like, communicate fearlessly. Um, if you're wondering if I'm dating, I am not. Um, that's a personal choice at the moment. Um, I did have a dude try to holler at me a couple of months back. Um, and I'm the type of person, if I'm outside and you trying to talk to me, I really don't see you. So by the time I realized he actually looked good, he was already passing me, and I already said nah. Um, but it's all good because, excuse me, I don't feel like I'm in that space where I want to entertain anybody. Um, you also when things happen and they're like pointless, you also gotta heal that part of you that wants to mess stuff up. Uh, and I really mean mess shit up. Like, the kind of rage part of you. Uh, and yeah, I spent a very long time focusing on someone else and feeling so guilty about things that weren't mine to feel guilty about, that I just want to let go of that guilt and accomplish some goals of my own, or even develop some goals of my own. Um, and have things that's me things, you know? And that's really it. Um, yeah. So, if you want there to be a second part, if you wanted to know anything else, general or specific, let me know. You can leave questions down below. But I really felt this on my heart to share, and I'm glad I was able to sit down and talk with y'all, even though I'm actually physically uncomfortable right now. Not because of the topic, well, a little bit, but more so I'm just having abdominal pain. Um, but yeah, hope to hear from y'all. Peace.